I think it's a good thing that he wants to be involved. I don't think that his opinion will be weighed heavily on though, because if you seen my content this morning, I was saying that we know that Robert Saleh was on the list of coaching candidates, and we just played the Niners.
Let me teach
and
you
then,
how to vibe.
Matt Nagy, even though it's no Mahomes, will be facing them this week, and that will be another coach that will be on the short list of coaches that will probably get an interview. And if you just think about it from that perspective, if you're Mike Bergonzi and you're going to be tied to a coach and your career is going to be on the line as far as your longevity with the team, with the Tennessee Titans, and putting your namesake on it, how does his connection to Nagy and the Chiefs working up under Andy Reid and working Mahomes, how heavily does that weigh in this coaching search? And then how heavily does it weigh that Chad Brinker's ties to Green Bay with Mike McCarthy in the times of his Super Bowl run there? How heavily do those two front runners, people that people think of first when it comes to this coaching search, and how well they would mesh with Cam Ward, that being Nagy and Mike McCarthy? So that's the interesting thing, because they come in, they'll have to lay out their plan of who would be the OC, who would be the DC, who would be the special teams coordinator. If those guys come in, obviously Mike McCarthy has history with Bones Fossil, the special teams coordinator that's turned our special teams around this year. And then obviously the Chiefs ties with Bergonzi and Nagy. And both of those guys having experience as head coaches. He said, do you think teams scared to trust their rookies? I think bad teams are, because Stefanski didn't want Shedeur to be so good that it made him look like an idiot for not wanting to play him all year. I think when Callahan gave too much to Will Levis too soon, and then when he got with Cam Ward, he didn't give him enough. And now you've seen since the bye week, the adjustments that Cam has made. I don't know if it's Mike McCoy and what they're doing different, or if it's just Cam Ward, the game slowing down for him and him understanding his role a lot better. But you do have to give Mike McCoy some credit that Cam Ward has looked better under his tutelage than he did with Brian Callahan. So I think in some situations, I think teams that don't have good locker rooms and don't have identities don't know what to do with those rookies. Not so much as don't trust them, they just don't know what to do with them. Roe was good. I feel like the best teams do. I mean, you got to think though, good teams are taking rookies, best player available, right? So let's take the Eagles. Eagles is a defending Super Bowl champ. Last year, Quindon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean played heavy roles with having big plays lay out there to lead the cornerback room. Year 2, they got Jahad Campbell, and he's playing with Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. You know, so it's like you put a guy into a room with guys that are already good at their position. Like, I think the Titans, Femi Oladejo was the easier fit to play well early and be given more, because he's out there with Jeffrey Simmons, and he's out there with Draymond Jones, and he's out there with T'Vondre Sweat to start the year, you know, in camp. So he gets a little bit more piece of the pie early on, right? And he was starting to come on by the time the Raiders game when he got hurt and had to go on IR. You know, you look at some teams around the league, the Patriots. The Patriots made a turnaround. Will Campbell, left tackle, playing with Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, not going to put him in a lot of uncompromised positions. Travion Henderson, they use him a lot later in the year. You look at some of the rookies that are having really good season. Emeka Egbuka, you step into a room with Mike Evans, a Hall of Fame wide receiver, with Godwin and Baker Mayfield, and you know he fits as a different piece to their puzzle. Ted Johnson came on as people start getting injured. kind of knowing his role and his position, and then Ibuka kind of taking off. Tyler Warren, tight end for the Colts. You come in, you got Mo Alley Cox, Michael Pittman Jr., Alex Pierce. You got Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in the league, behind a really good offensive line. And then they bring in Daniel Jones as a veteran quarterback bridge. And Tyler Warren got to fit into an offense that was already had an identity. You just made a 6'6" tight end into a play action offense. So it's like good teams know what to do with the rookies. Bad teams have to depend on those rookies and not try to ruin them. So like, who are they learning from? Like, you put Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle in there with Cam Ward. Who is he supposed to learn from? You know what I'm saying? Like, you put guys in a room with guys that don't have anybody to look up to, and then you kind of, the Titans wide receivers is supposed to be Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson, but Alec Aomaner and Chimere Dike, who are they learning from at receiver after Calvin Ridley goes down and Tyler Lockett leaves and has to be released, and Van Jefferson's not a better player than them at this stage in their career. So you got to have a room set up for these guys to come in and be able to better fit in their situations. She was popping. At least y'all know it's overthrown football. It's not underthrown. He said this is a draft hat, Ryan. Corey. Need 3 in a row. Pats are making believers out of everybody. Eagles to lose 3 in a row. Then we in. Y'all not in there. Y'all done. Got to get some vets. You got to get the right veterans. I don't think the Patriots are necessarily making believers out of everybody, because I still think that, like, in the AFC, Josh Allen is the person to beat in the playoffs. If it's no Burrow, no Mahomes, no Lamar, I think Josh Allen is the person to beat in the AFC when it comes to playoffs. So I just think that what the Patriots have done is, they've built an identity. The first half of the season, nobody ran for more than 50 yards on them. They ran the football and they stopped the run, and they let their players develop. But the veterans we got to get veterans in the defensive back room. And that was a thing that Rand had set them up for with Cheeto and Snead, but Snead is part of an alleged drive-by shooting. And then Cheeto gets cut to save cap space, and he's starting for the Ravens and having a good year for the Ravens. So you trade Roger and Jarvis. You got a bunch of guys out there that are practice squad guys that they picked up off waivers. Baker Jr., Jalen Almar Davis, K.R. Elam. And then you got the rookie Marcus Harris. Who is he learning from? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the tough part of what you're dealing with. I think that's why when Kevin Winston stepped in, up until the time that he got hurt this past week, he looked a little bit more efficient coming in and ready to go, because he's in there with Xavier Woods and Amani Hooker and Quandre Diggs the first half of the year. With Nagy at head coach, worry you given how quickly he fell off in Chicago? Not necessarily, because they had a good run when he first got there, and then the Justin Fields situation wound up going left. Was that an administrative situation? Like, could it be, could it not be? We talking about retread coaches, guys that, McCarthy left out of Dallas, Saleh getting, the Jet situation, the Nagy and the Bears now getting a coach under Kyle Shanahan, one getting a coach under Andy Reid. It's like more of a situation of what did they learn. I'm pretty sure when they come into the interview, it's going to be, what did you learn? Did you learn something that's going to come into this situation that is going to help you in your second run? This is the Bills' time. If they don't get it done this year, it's a wrap. Yeah, that's why I made that post. I think this is the time for the Bills. And if they don't make a run at this point, like, they're cooked. They'll still be good, but nobody will believe in them. Y'all done, Swall. It's up. Because that's my thoughts about the veterans. They need veteran DBs at corner. They need on offense. I'm not so crazy about vets. I think you just need to let young guys grow around Cam. I don't think they're in a position on offense to bring in a top receiver. Like spending $20 million on Alec Pierce or Romeo Doubs will help the room, but I that's not the direction I go. Who's out there on the defensive side? I mean, you got Tariq Woolen, you got Alontae Taylor, you got Jalen Watson, you got Adolfo Way is gonna be up, Jalen Phillips, Kayvon Thibodeau. There's gonna be some guys on defense that are gonna be out there. Kyle Pitts, Isaiah Likely, Brees Hall. It's gonna be some people that hit free agency. But you know, like it's just a matter of like where they should spend the money at. Do they spend more money on veteran offensive line at guard? Because I wouldn't spend a lot of money at tackle again after the Dan Moore experience, even though Dan Moore has played better second half of the season. Trent McDuffie may be available with Bergonzi Gamble on the former veteran chief cornerback like Randy. Good question. But I don't think they should blow the bag on anybody. Like, I think it should just be more of like, let's get some more supplemental guys in and have depth and build stars through the draft. Because let's say the Titans are gonna have to pay a bad team tax. That means they're gonna be good playoff teams that could spend money to get a Tariq Woolen, they could get a Alontae Taylor, they could get a Kyle Pitts, they could get a Isaiah Likely, they could get a Brees Hall. So if you have a playoff team that's got the same money or even in the same ballpark, the Titans won't be first option. I just don't want them out there reaching to spend $20 million on Alec Pierce, and then you go in the draft and draft a number one, and Alec Pierce is, you know, you're spending $20 million on a number two. You know, and in that case, you'd be eating $10 million to get rid of Calvin Ridley to go give $20 million to Alec Pierce. You know what I'm saying? It's like, in essence, you blow $30 million to have Alec Pierce at receiver instead of Calvin Ridley. You know, is that something that you want to do? You know, it's like I don't see that as a situation that they should be pursuing. I think they should be getting solid role players. Like, you know, Van Jefferson was a solid pro for $1.6 million. He's a solid contributor to our team in the run blocking and just being a good guy overall on the 53. Is he your future? No. But when you spend $4 million on Lockett, you say, man, for 1.6 we got more out of Van Jefferson than we did out of Lockett. So it's like, that's the position you want to do. Like Sebastian Joseph Day, like you get good production out of him and a good locker room guy, a guy that's not going to be a liability. He's going to be an asset to the team, good rotational piece, and he's good in the community, good in the locker room. You ain't got to worry about him that way. You need more guys like that. Xavier Woods, when he's been healthy, he's been out there, he's produced, he's got interceptions, he's made tackles, he's been, you know, around the football for $4 million. You want to like load the roster up with guys like that. And if you get a chance to get a guy that's, you know, 24, 25 going into his second contract that you can get, and, you know, you give him a 3-year deal, decent money, not all of it's guaranteed, and it's a prove it deal, kind of, so to speak, then that's something that's a better option for the Titans. But the Titans got to win in the draft. You know, the guys that we see now, that Marcus Harris, Cedric Grays, Chimere DK, A.O. Monner, Gunnar Helm, you know, these guys are guys through the draft that have came in, have contributed, and, you know, being, you know, good parts of the team. Winston before he got hurt. That's kind of where you want to go. Miami about to do a Denver and eat all that Tua contract. I see that. They said Judon got cut today. Hall and Spears could be a good man, but I need Jeremiah Love like LL Cool J. I don't see them getting Jeremiah Love. I think the only way you get him is if you trade back and the Titans are in the middle of the first round and they get, multiple draft picks back and they go that direction. Like it's fun to talk about it, but I don't think that's the direction they need to go. I think the Titans, if you get a chance to take RVL Reese at the top of the draft, or you get a chance to get a lockdown corner in that first round somewhere, I think that's the more value for the Titans. I think when you go back and look at this past year's draft, guys that are second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round guys that have produced. Look at DK. Look at Gunnar Helm. Look at Aronde Gas in the 5th round pick. Look at Kyle Monangai. The production the 7th round running back has given. You got to look at teams that have guys that are in the draft that are not first round guys. The Quinshon Judkins, the Harold Fannons. The guy like Tez Johnson for the Buccaneers being a late round pick. You see some teams that got guys that contribute well to their teams. That Lab McConkey's a 2nd round pick for the Chargers. You look at some heavy, Horton for the Seahawks. Guys that people have gotten in mid to late rounds that have really come on this year and put in work. It ain't happening. Whispering. Saw a post of Tua to Cleveland and Watson to Miami. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Q was popping. Because to be honest, if Tony Pollard finished out this season and ends with 1,000-yard season coming into next year, he's increasing his value as somebody that he's only got $2 million in dead cap. People that finish this season out good and going into next year that are under contract could increase themselves as valuable pieces that could be moved. I don't think Tyjae Spears will ever be a number 1 running back in Nashville. Next year is his last year. It's gonna be interesting to see how they move their pieces around. But I definitely secondary at corner and edge. They gotta address that one way or another in this off season and getting a number 1 receiver. I just don't think the Titans is the type of team that could get a number 1 receiver in free agency. Miami going to draft a quarterback or sign like Mac Jones for a bridge. I mean, it's interesting. What do you get? What do you get in Quinn Ewers and Zach down the stretch? It might be what they're trying to see. Best case scenario for Miami is Quinn Ewers it turns into Brock Purdy for them. That would be best case scenario. Puka Nacua was a 5th round pick.
Let me teach you how to vibe.
Tariq Woolen about to get some money this offseason. He's a 5th round pick. Chig Okonkwo, are they going to bring him back? Are they going to let him go for the Titans? He's the last pick in the 4th round. Sometimes guys that turn into heavily productive guys on your roster are guys that are they're in that top 100 to 110, 120 picks. Kenny O, you read what up? That's kind of how I see my mocks. If the Titans can get a trade back to get I think if you the Titans and you trade back, you want to trade back and look at defensive back, receiver, interior line, edge. You got to get the most. Like people was talking about Abdul Carter last year, but look at the people that's actually produced on the edge this year. It's been James Pierce Jr. Leading rookies in edge pressures. You look at some of the guys that stepped up that weren't first round picks that are very valuable to their team. As far as the Pro Bowl, has a rookie ever been voted in their first season and played I mean, like Brock Bowers last year. Like, look at the rookie season he had at tight end. I think he's like at the top of the league as tight ends. Period. So it's that's an easy call. Yes, that man. That's what we were talking about. A lot of people gonna be calling for Mac Jones, Davis Mills. A lot of people that's gonna be placing phone calls around there trying to see what's up. Will Levis is gonna get some burn for some teams, but I think he's got to come back and go into camp and show himself throwing the football for the Titans, and he'll have a good opportunity to get moved. So Titans gonna have a lot of draft capital. We hope right now that the Ravens backdoor the playoffs. Draymond Jones has went crazy for the Ravens since he's been there, and if the Ravens make the playoffs, the Titans will get an extra 4th round pick. So imagine the Titans being able to be at the top of the draft, trading back, having multiple picks in those first 60 picks in the 1st and 2nd round, and then having a 3rd and 2/4, a 5th, and then 2 6th round picks. Titans put themselves in great position. Then even if you do move some of those veterans, maybe Xavier Woods or Pollard in this upcoming offseason, because I don't think you can move Snead or Ridley effectively. I think those are situations that they gotta look at the legal situation with Snead and let that play itself out, and then with Reed look at the way and the options of, do you eat the 10 million and go a different direction, or do you just roll the dice that he comes back healthy and you get production out of him and trade him in the future? So those are some interesting things to see about how the Tennessee Titans go about rebuilding this team, because one thing, the big question that we asked is, how is the offensive line going to look down the stretch? And Dan Moore, J.C. Latham, Corey Levin, Lloyd Cushenberry, Peter Skoronski, these guys down the stretch have played very, very well. 100-yard rushing day Sunday and no sacks on Cam Ward against the 49ers, as well as only giving up 1 sack to the Browns and having their best running performance in 2 years since Derrick Henry left. So, has this line fixed itself? Was the Callahan's the problem, but I still think you go into a situation that if you can get more talent at that position, you add in. How far you think the Titans are away from making the playoffs? To be honest, the way the NFL is, the Titans can make the playoffs next year. But I not care about the playoffs. I care about them being able to contend to get to an AFC championship. Maybe on Cam's 3rd year, going into his 4th year, the Titans could be a contender, a team that can make a shot at the AFC. You look at the Broncos with Bo Nix. You look at Drake May with the Patriots. It's very rare that in year 2 that they get a chance to win their division and be one of the top teams in the AFC. But they could get in the playoffs and get bounced early. You see them choked out a big lead to the Bills this past week. You look at the Commanders, year 1 for Jaden Daniels, going being 1 game from the Super Bowl to this year. The Commanders are gonna probably have a top 5 draft pick. It's like, everybody ain't the Rams. Everybody don't have the number 1 seed in the NFC, a top 10 pick, and having 2 picks in the 1st round this upcoming draft. Everybody don't have that. You know what I'm saying? And the Puka Nakuas, the Kyron Williams, the Jared Verses, those guys is guys from their draft. And then you put Devontae with Puka and Whittington, and put him with those guys as time goes on. You just don't jump into it. Realistic situation is how the Titans have looked down the stretch, a more viable team. You go out and spend your money in free agency the right way. You hire the right coach. You have a good draft. The Titans should be competing. How the Panthers are competing with everybody now. You look at the Panthers, Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, Jatavian Sanders, Tetroa McMillan may be at the top of the rookie class at receiver. Witty Egbuka. You got Xavier Legette, and then Jalen Coker, who's been a very productive guy for them. That a kid that was like from a unheard of, unsung, late round, undrafted type of guy. So, look at the talent that they've building to push forward with. You want to compete, and I don't really care about winning the AFC South. Look at the Colts. They was at the top of the league, and they may not make the playoffs, and then, they won't have a first round pick next year. And you look at the Texans, they've been so close. They're on an upswing now. How much do they have to the tank when they get there to make a run with that defense that they got? You look at the Jaguars, they got Travis Hunter hurt, playing in both sides of the ball. Brian Thomas has been hurt. They got a really good defense. They got talent across the board. But all these teams are unproven. It's like they still got to get in the playoffs and win. And to me, they can compete next year. They could even win the division or make the playoffs as a wild card. But it don't mean nothing. Can you build a team that can make a run and get to the conference championship? Like, that's contending. Are you not just a regular season team when the playoffs get here? Can you make a run? And most of the time, quarterbacks at the end of their rookie contract, going into their second contract, that window is a time that teams really push. Kareem Hunt is staying with the Chiefs. Yeah, I mean, he should. He said, when is Dallas going to be a playoff team? Man. This was Dallas's year. Win the war by attrition. So honestly, I think the Titans is 2 years away from being. I think they'll play better and be a better team next year. But as far as contending to push in the AFC, I say give Cam Ward's third year will be the year. Because people are so high on Vrabel and the Patriots now. If they lose in the playoffs in those early rounds, you're going to be saying like they had a great year and a great bounce around, great turnaround. But, what does that mean? Packers the same way. Packers look good all year, and now Micah Parsons get hurt and Christian Watson gets hurt. So like, where are the Packers at, limping into the playoffs? He said Cam is a boss. Yeah, but I don't know how much influence he will weigh on the head coaching call with Bergonzi and Brinker. Will they let him? I'm pretty sure they'll include him, but he won't be to the level he think he should be at. It's admirable of saying you want to have Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons be a part of the hiring process, but no, it's kind of above their pay grade, because they're not hiring a coach just to coach Cam Ward or just to coach Jeffrey Simmons. They hiring a coach to coach the whole 53 and help build the culture in Nashville with Mike Bergonzi. It's more important that the next head coach has a good relationship with Mike Bergonzi than the next head coach has a good relationship with Cam Ward. Like that's my honest opinion. Like how Vrabel's connection to the ownership, or how Kyle Shanahan is with Lynch, or how Sirianni's connection with the Eagles front office. Like, that's more important than the player getting to pick a coach. Charles D. That's my own personal opinion. I think it's more important that the head coach and the front office have a better connection with the GMs and player personnel than the head coach to the quarterback. It'd be cool to say that, but McVay in the front office of player personnel is more important than McVay getting along with Matthew Stafford. Because the quarterback coach and the OC is going to be in the meeting drawing up the plays. Head coach has the ultimate decision, but as far as the game plan, you want your offensive coordinator, your play caller, and your quarterback to be on the same page. If not, like, are we doing the LeBron? You know what I'm saying? Like, look, you want LeBron telling you who you want on the team, or do you want your head coach to be helping with player personnel. EP was good, man. The Commanders will have a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Who y'all going after? Who you want? EP. I think Andy will retire and Nagy is not leaving. That's an interesting take. B Walker was good, player. That's an interesting take. He said LeBron won championships. I'm saying it makes it harder if your star player is calling shots on who's on your team. I don't want Cam Ward going in the office saying who he wants at receiver. I want Cam Ward to have a good relationship with the OC, the game plan, and the play calling. I want my head coach to be tied to. I want my head coach to be tied to my front office and my GM, making good overall personnel decisions. You want a Howell defensive end from Texas A&M on the Commanders? Respect. So you going defense? That's kind of the way I see it. Like if the Titans are in the top 5, I want Arvell Reese. If the Titans drop down, you got to go best player available. Are you still top 10? Are you out of the top 10? How many picks did you pick up in the top 100 from trading back? Things like that. But the Titans might, if the Ravens make the playoffs, the Titans might come in with 2 fourth-round picks, a third, a second, and a top 5 pick, top 3 pick. You know, they'll have a lot of leverage in the draft to do what they want to do because they'll have 2 6th-round picks as well. That's without trading anybody else up into the draft. You need to do what the Falcons did and get 2 top edge rushers. Yeah, they did, but it didn't equate to wins. I mean, James Pierce Jr. is a dog. A 4.4 40 from an edge rusher is crazy, but at the same time, it's still a 4-win football team. I just want the overall 53 for the Titans to improve, and I want the free agency to help solidify depth. You know, having so many practice squad guys being relied on at every level of your team this year has been tough to put that around a rookie quarterback with a team that up until the last 2 weeks wasn't able to run the football effectively for 2 years.